At the Forum Hotel, I'm your host, Luke Neer, alongside co-host and executive director of Cat Futures, and that would be Lo Davis, class of 91 and class of 2011, and we are talking to current student athletes that we've reached, UVA Swimming and Diving, and our representative is Noah Nichols. He is a senior, and for those who are unaware, this is one of the best programs in the entire university. You talk about national championship expectations, that's every single year, Lo.
Yeah, absolutely. And Noah, we are really thrilled to have you here. I think you're our first swimmer on the program from the men's team. We've had the Walsh sisters on, which was an awesome experience last year.
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit about your program? Obviously, this fall there was a lot of excitement around it, and having the dual meet with Texas was really, really cool. So for those of us, can you talk to us a little bit about the program and kind of where things are going with it?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me. I hope I do my program proud. But yeah, this has been an absolutely electric fall. On the recruiting side of things, we've just recruited maybe the best men's class in NCAA history, which was absolutely electric for our team. That was a great time. I missed the Florida dual meet this year. I went off to Santiago, Chile for the Pan American Games, and then hopped off a flight and went right to the University of Texas dual meet, which, if you guys didn't get to catch that, it was the coolest dual meet, I think, in swimming history. The stands were absolutely packed. We had a DJ, which is just unnecessary and just surreal to have at a swim meet. All of our alumni were there. It was a great environment, and we ended up coming out with the W on both days of the meet. It was surreal for me, actually. It was my favorite dual meet. I've been here for 4 years. Nothing has come anywhere close to that, not NCAAs or anything.
So just like we were talking with Chloe earlier, playing at JPJ, it was more than just a game or a match or an event. It was an event, and it sounded like around that meet in particular, it was an event, right? And so can you talk to us a little bit about the atmosphere? I saw pictures on social media of the stands being packed, but what did it feel like in that venue at that moment?
Well, for me personally, I don't want to say this, but I could almost block out 90% of the crowd. It's the alumni that I swam with. When I was a first year, they were fourth years. My mentors being there, cheering me on. Now I've been in their shoes where they once were. Kind of seeing them, that's what gives me the energy, and it drives you to just want to compete and do what you can do for them so they can have a good time. I don't know, it's a crazy, crazy feeling seeing them now graduated and me being in their shoes where they once were when I was a first year. It's crazy.
We're talking with Noah Nichols of UVA Swimming and Diving. Let's paint the picture. What are your events?
I'm a 100 and 200 breaststroker primarily. I also swim the 200 IM as my third event, but primarily a breaststroker, yeah.
With that said, take me through the schedule of a UVA swimmer, because I'm fascinated by your calendar, not only in season but off season as well. And pretty much every single one of you is doing something for an Olympic trial or qualifying for the national team. Take me through the entire calendar, in season and off season.
All right, so unfortunately we don't even get to use the terms in season and off season because it's kind of it's perpetual. Yeah. So our regular season technically starts in the beginning of October, but we start practices pretty heavily end of August when everybody gets to school. I've been at school every single summer since my first year, so just kind of keeps going. But we have doubles Monday, Tuesday, so that's a morning practice for 2 hours, and then normally an hour if that's a lift, hour swim, and then another 2 hour swim in the afternoon. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday morning, 2 hour practice. And then we have off Wednesday afternoon, Thursday morning, off, Thursday afternoon, 2 hour practice. Friday, another double. And then Saturday is like a 3 hour practice. And Saturday is kind of like the best day of the week because, you have a 3 hour straight practice. And it's generally one of the harder practices of the week. But then you're like, I have the rest of Saturday, I have Sunday to rest. You have something to look forward to. It's really great.
That's awesome. Tell us, what is it like to be coached by Todd DeSorbo? I mean, I see him and the energy that he brings to your program. What is it like to be around him every day?
That was a choice I intentionally made when choosing a school to go to. I'm kind of like all over the place, and when I came and visited UVA, I saw Todd was the same way. I mean, he's always amped up off of a monster or something, bouncing off the walls, and that's kind of what I need. I need that to A, keep me in check, and then B, also to like level with me. And so he's an absolutely electric energy to have on the deck. He's always giving positive energy to everybody, anybody and everybody. So it's just him and the entire staff is just, they're super young, so you don't always see that in swimming, especially, because a lot of people think wisdom comes with age, and yes, that's true, but there's also something valuable in having some younger coaches who can hype you up when you need it, because these practices get grueling, and you don't want to be sitting looking at the wall just upset. They're all over the place, bringing that energy that you need when you need it. It's wonderful.
So for an outsider like myself, take us through what a practice session looks like, and tell us what is it that helps you get better every day, and is it really more about competing against yourself versus the person that's next to you? What is that like?
Right. It's a weird balance, I would say. We have a lot of different types of practices. One thing might be like an endurance set where it's not a technique focused thing. You've done the technique work earlier in the week, or you're going to do it later in the week, and this is just building up that kind of endurance that you're going to need to finish a longer race. And those can get pretty intense, and I would say those are where I'm more engaging and racing and focusing on my teammates more, because I don't like to lose. I don't think anybody that swims likes to lose, so I have a couple of my really close buddies, Will Tempest, Max Ida, both breaststrokers with me, and so we go at it pretty hard in practice, and it's always great to have your boys next to you, pushing you, and that's kind of what keeps the sport entertaining and keeps me going. But those technique practices, yeah, I'd say I'm a little more focused on tiny, finite details that I'm doing. I'm not necessarily looking around, seeing what everybody else is doing.
Talk about your teammates as we're checking in with Noah Nichols of UVA Swimming as our final guest of today's edition of the Cat Futures Show. Are you all tight-knit? Do you live in the same building? Is it an apartment complex? How does that work when you're a first year compared to when you're an upperclassman like yourself as a senior?
Right. So first years are all in dorms. What was really special about my first year is all of the athletes were in one dorm, which was kind of unheard of. So it was cool. We all lived door next to door, next to door, next to door of all of each other, all of the guys and the girls directly above us on the floor above. So we have a really close class. We're also a combined program, men's and women's, so you don't see that a lot in swimming. So a lot of different programs around the country, their men's and women's team don't mingle as much or don't hang out as much. We, all the second years through fourth years, live in in two separate buildings that are within 20 feet of each other.
Wow.
So we're always seeing each other. Even when we leave practice, we don't really leave practice because we're all right next to each other. And then we have a swim house, which is another maybe 40 yards from those two apartment buildings, all in the same parking lot, where I've lived since my second year, all with other swimmers. It's a great environment. I mean, I don't think I'd ever dreamt of living anywhere else other than that. If I was in there with a bunch of non-athletes who didn't have to wake up at the same time, I might get a little depressed about what I'm doing every day. But everybody I'm living with is doing it. They're in the same grind as me, so it really keeps you going, keeps you focused on your goals.
Well, I do know that, swimming, obviously, it's a commitment, right? Mentally and physically, it's a commitment. And you talk about really no off season. But can you tell us, is there a time period where you just physically and mentally have to get away from the sport? And is that a week, 2 weeks, a month? What does that look like?
Right. I'd say after Nationals, which was in end of July, or early July this past summer, I took a good 2 week break, and that's about as much as you can really give yourself if you're trying to compete to make an Olympic team or something like that. So I took about a 2 week break. It's good for your mental health, just kind of help you reset, because you got a long ways to go.
Absolutely. Last question.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep it within 20 seconds.
Okay.
What's Todd on you as far as the goal? What are you guys talking about as far as the goal for this team?
For this team, we are trying to top 10 at NCAA, short, simple, finish second at ACCs, and then put our program in a place where in the next 5 years we are going to win a national championship.
Noah, can't wait to follow you along the journey for the rest of the season. Yeah, that is Noah Nichols of UVA Swimming and Diving for Lo Davis, Executive Director of Cat Futures. This is Luke Neer saying so long. Thanks so much for joining us on the Cat Futures Show. We will be back, Lo, remind us of the next date of the show.